Welcome, everybody, to another episode of Developing the Leader Within podcast. I'm Enrique, and today I got Frank Mengert with me. Let me tell you, since I've been on LinkedIn, Frank, which I know him as Frankie, but Frank has been on the forefront of all of the videos that I normally go to. And I love how he does it. I love what he's doing. Uh, he has multiple businesses under him. I think the last count I had was like the fifth company they had founded and created. EBM, one of them, which we'll be talking about today, leadership and HR technologies. But first, Frankie, thank you for being with me and sharing your time and your expertise.
I appreciate that very much. And it is an honor to be here. I'm excited.
I'm not as much as me, but but I thank you for all that you do on the platform and in your business world because it's making a huge difference. I shared real briefly, and I'll bring this up later on, but how HR and the policies and with benefits can truly affect somebody if they're not managed right. But before we get into all of that, if you wouldn't mind giving us a little bit about you, your background, what you're up to, and then we'll head into all the good stuff.
You bet. Yeah. People affectionately know me as Frankie Baby. That's my handle on LinkedIn. So a lot of people always, when they talk to me, they call me Frankie. I got that as a child. My mother, I was my mom's Frankie Baby. I still am. So that's something I'm 43 years old and it's carried with me all throughout my life. Personally, I was born in Hollywood, Florida. Grew up there for a while. Parents moved. I'm in Connecticut now. My parents moved to Connecticut, and ended up getting divorced. But I stayed in Connecticut. Connecticut's my home. Been here for quite a while. And you talk about five. I've started 5 businesses. Not all of them have been successful, but been quite a journey. Spent some time in the corporate world. I got laid off. I lost my job, and that basically was a catalyst for starting my first company. So it's been quite a ride. Learned a lot, met some amazing people along the way, and of course, folks like through LinkedIn have been really impactful for me. It's really opened my eyes up across the globe. So lots of fun and lots of stories to tell. So I'm excited for today.
So am I, and I've shared your journey as you share it, right? As you go through and the opening of EBM and the pictures in front of the marquee up on top of the building, yeah, all the development that you went through in the journey. It's so nice of you to share that with us because you mentioned earlier, right? Hey, not all of them have been successful, but guess what? In life, not all of our journey gonna be successful,
Mm.
and to be able to share that and not only put the shiny quote in front of everybody, it's a trait that not many people have, so I appreciate that. So we're gonna talk about leadership and HR technology, and some people may say, man, what do those two have to do with each other, right? um but very briefly, and just to throw the floor here for the conversation, there was an event in my life that kind of shattered me. I needed some time. It was actually the passing of my mom. I needed some time, and there was a bereavement period that's natural to all employees, right? And so you provide that bereavement period for some people. Hey, if it was a uncle or a late, distant cousin, or it may be enough. But in my case, my mom, it took me a whole month before I got my head right. Didn't know it was going to be that impactful, but and it still is, but not as bad. So it took me a whole month. 3 days didn't cut it. Even with a PTO or anything like that you may have, it just didn't cut it. So unfortunately, it was a parting of ways. Not understanding the policies right or whatever, and not understanding the needs of the person. So here comes leadership and HR technologies or HR world colliding all at once, and voila, here we are. So you know, you say, and I love how you say, hey, we've done it this way all the time. We've just done it this way. And I love that you highlight that because it was one of those situations.
Mm.
Just talk a little bit about that because I know that it wasn't so positive for me, but it could be positive for somebody else if they get their head around it.
Yeah, I mean, and so it is unfortunate that that had to happen to you. I feel like there are organizations out there that make decisions that impact their employees because of the way they've always done things. And you think of, this old school mentality that organizations have because processes have been in place for multiple years. It's like, there was the company's been founded 40 years ago, and some of the same stuff that they were doing 40 years ago, they're still doing today. And especially with HR processes, those things have to change. 2020 showed us how untapped into employees HR was when you were forced to go remote, when you couldn't physically go into an office, and people scrambled, like, what do we do? How, we have meetings, we have all these things, and then how do we turn to virtual? How do we keep our finger on the pulse with employees? How is mental health impacting people who are now, basically trapped at home and dealing with stuff, and dealing with relatives getting COVID? So much has happened, not only over the last several years, but the last 12 months have showed us so much, and companies need to evolve. There is absolutely a switch going on and a change. And it starts at the top with leadership. It starts at the CEO level, and it goes into that C-suite, and HR is part of the heartbeat of an organization. They're making decisions that impact company morale, company culture, and they need, first of all, they need the authority to make decisions that they feel are going to be best for the team, because people, it's situational. I think a 3-day bereavement policy, at the face, sure, bereavement time is okay. Like you said, I mean, I got an uncle that passed away. I need to go to the funeral, and it's maybe not a close relationship. I mean, I know my relationship with my mom, and like you said, it took you a month to sort of get your head right, but I mean, it's not the same. You go to pick the phone up, you're like, I'm going to call my mom, and you're like, I can't call my mom. So you're going to deal with that for a while. The short-term impact is 3 days isn't going to get you in the right headspace. So I think, again, companies need to look at things based on situations, because a simple phone call to you to say, hey, we know that you really lost someone that was really close to you. How can we work with you to make sure that your transition back into the workplace is comfortable for you, and it's something that's comfortable for us, so that we can work with you during this time and then get you 100%, or as close to that as possible, so that you can be fully committed to the role we hired you for. A simple conversation that apparently wasn't had, but should have been had.
And just to be transparent and truthful, I love to be that. They did everything they could, given their flexibility. It's just that I felt, and the decision was mine. The decision was mine. I felt that my head was not in the right position at the time to come back and fully execute. I felt like a burden. I felt like I needed to be the bigger person, right? And say, you know what, bro, you're not cutting it for them right now. You're probably cheating them more than And I said, hey, I had to go, but um, but having done everything they could, it's still, 2 weeks later, I was still dealing with stuff. So, it's just something that people need to understand, especially in the closeness of relationships and HR world. There may be an extended thing that you may have to consider, because it's a month is a long time to be away from your job. But
Mhm.
in any case, this is where leadership comes in. And so I first want to just talk a little bit about what got you into this space, right? You say you lost your job, then you started the business, but this particular space of, where EBM is at, how did you get here?
Yeah, so I mean, the quick version, like you mentioned, 2003, I was working at a company, thought it was my forever job, thought I was gonna, move my way through the ranks. I was I worked in, basically there was two parts of the organization. There was a factory that I worked in. We made paper, and this company had helped me go through school. They paid for, subsidized my college. Otherwise, I would have never been able to go. Got my degree, and my goal was to move up to the front office and work in IT for the company. Pretty large firm. And one day I went into work, and they were like, Noreen's in the cafeteria. You got to go in there and talk to her. And I was like, oh, and Noreen was the plant manager. And she said, we got to let you go. We're laying you off. And I was devastated, crushed. I was like, what am I going to do? This is totally blindsided. So long story short, again, I made a decision. I said, I'm going to put my destiny in my own hands. I don't want to ever be laid off again. I don't want to be beholden to a company. So I had been doing some side hustling in the IT world. I started my IT company, and I went all in. I said, I'm going to do this. So I started my first company, IT Solutions, built that successful company. And then in that time, I built two other companies that weren't so successful and were failures. And then my fourth company, which is EBM, where I'm at right now, this is my biggest success period, financially, and also fulfilling wise. Like it became my passion and is still my passion. And we work in HR technology, specifically in the employee benefits side, but we deliver technology that helps educate employees on their benefits, the decisions they make that impact the health plans that they choose, and then lots of other things around compliance and other areas. I mean, now tying in things like mental health and fitness and all these other things that are coming in, because again, the world of work is changing, and HR is now introducing more and more into an employee benefit package than ever, because employees are demanding more. There's more needs. There's more things that are going on today that weren't going on 5 years ago, and definitely not 10 years ago. So we drive the technology. Everything is on your smartphone these days. We live in a instant gratification society where people want it now. So that's when it's no different with your employee benefits. So we facilitate that process, and we work with HR to make sure that their employees are getting a good experience through self-service, and also they have capacity to really focus on things that are helping build an organization.
That's wonderful. And I tell you that out of all the companies and different places that I've been at, one of the challenges is how you package that benefits, right? How do you tailor it? For instance, from a military background, typically if you retire, your medical is covered, right? Either by the VA or by some type of program that you got legacy from the military. And so medical is not an issue when it comes to military people. So how do you know and I've done this. I've gone to a company and say, hey, look, you don't have to pay my medical, but can you pay workers, the how you call it, long term and short-term disability instead, versus and some companies have said, yeah, fine, let's do that. But that was a flexibility they had. Most companies that I've asked would be like, nah, it's either medical or dental, or, you don't get, and I'm like, okay. So it's one of those things you have to think outside the box per the person that you're getting in. And I'm so glad that you guys are providing it all on that smartphone, right? Where people can go ahead and pick at will what they need. Um, so you started this, and it's the most successful that you've been in. What because you say, hey, we've done it all, the worst thing that people could say is, we've always done it this way. What are some of the things that you've seen when dealing with companies that you say, and you come in and you say, hey, oh, this is what they have versus this is what I can give them? What are the worst things that you've seen?
So again, yeah, the term, the way we've always done it, is like it just translates into so many different industries. But around insurance, it's a slow moving industry in general, and not only technology, but just the way people deliver employee benefits. And from an organizational standpoint, one of the top three items that they spend on, they got payroll, but health benefits is one of those top three spends usually within an organization. So it's a big burden for an organization, but it's a must to attract and retain talent for sure. Employees will look, okay, here's my salary. Oh, we don't offer benefits. And then there's another one that has maybe a lower salary, but a really comprehensive benefit package. So most employees, especially when benefits are important, they're looking at, okay, I've got, this company has these options. This is attractive to me, where a company that doesn't offer benefits, that offers really, limited benefits, and when you need them, that's going to be more attractive. So having that as a not only to get new people on as you're hiring, but also keeping the employees you have. A lot of employees still offer the same type of benefits. Again, one plan option, like you said, oh, we got medical, dental, and vision. That's what we got. And it's not, I mean, you have to have flexibility. You have to give employees choices, because especially, does my spouse's plan look better than my current employer's? Because if I waive, the company's saving money because they're not contributing to my medical plan, but how can we use that money to buy other benefits that you could offer? Pet insurance, identity theft, legal insurance. There's so many different other policies out, tuition reimbursement. So companies now are looking at more creative ways to say, we've budgeted, $10,000 a year for an employee for benefits. If an employee only doesn't need certain benefits, how can we still give them a nice package where they have options to choose from? And companies are doing that more and more. And it's not just Google and Apple and these tech firms. Smaller companies can do that, and the war for talent is going to get greater and greater, especially now that jobs and things are reopening. So yeah, the flexibility there for having different options for employees is going to continue to grow.
And that's wonderful, because I know that and we mentioned earlier, that I need it now type of mentality, and it's just in the environment, right? Everywhere you go, anywhere I go around me, 5 miles, I'm running into a fast food restaurant. That tells me that everybody that is demanding at least within 5 miles that they eat now, right? That I find food now and I can get it. In this term, is like in the policies and all the benefits. Most people come in thinking, what can I get, right? Not only salary, because it is a big thing, but if a salary is not cutting it, how can I get it on the benefit side? So what role do you see leaders having in that train of thought of, how can we beef up, our offerings in terms of benefits, so that we can be and retain the best, be the best and retain the best.
Yeah. So the good thing of us is we work with employers. Some of them have 50 employees, and some of them have 10,000 employees. So we get to see a big spectrum of employers. We also get to see different industries, and colleges and universities and hospitality, and all these different firms, how they offer benefits, what type of benefit plans they offer. So we get insight into a lot of that data and that detail. And I'll tell you that, even things like when you look at, okay, here's what we offer: one medical, one dental, one vision. There's definitely capabilities now to offer 2 or 3 dental, vision, medical plans. So if you look at what I might pick, like, let's just say I'm married, I have a 9-year-old daughter, a family plan. I have to make sure my family's covered. So a plan that I pick is going to be different than a plan that maybe a 20-year-old might pick, because when I was 20, I went to the doctor maybe once a year. I didn't really, nothing happened to me where I needed to use my insurance. So do I need to be on the same rich, expensive plan as someone else? No, probably not. So a company that offers one plan limits their budget, but also their employees with flexibility. So the easiest thing is to say, from a leadership perspective, let's give our employees choice. We get choice everywhere else. You go to Starbucks, there's 100 different variations of coffees that you could choose from. But when you pick your medical plan, which is so important to how, especially if something happens to you, it's that policy that you hope you never need. You have no choice. You have one choice of what you can pick. So I think the easiest thing for leadership to do is look at their options and give employees choices. And that typically starts with the medical, but also can be, dental plans, vision plans. And again, like I talked about, things like tuition reimbursement and pet insurance and legal insurance and identity theft. These are all things that can be offered. And it doesn't mean the employer has to pay for them 100%. You could say, hey, we'll pay for this 50%. If you want it, you can pick up the other 50%. If you don't have any pets and you don't have pet insurance, then don't take it. But at least the choice is there. So again, the flexibility, the options are there. And a lot of employers are starting to look at that. The leadership is starting to say, how do we give our employees options? Because we do have more options now and basically everything we do than ever. But health insurance and benefits are still a little bit restricted among a lot of organizations.
Yeah, I love that train of thought of how do we give our employees options, because typically it is the thought of the company. How do we keep some of this money,
Yeah.
right? Because it's a business, we all understand that. But when you're trying and are aiming to retain the best, and if you hire somebody, you think that you would have hired the best candidate, right? So you already have the best out of the group that came and to apply for that job. So you just got the best, and now you want to retain that person. Uh, Flexibility and choice is probably one of the best things. So thanks for bringing that up. And for those leaders out there thinking about, hey, how do we structure this? Whether you are in the HR or not, as a leader, you have to be able to bring up these things to other leaders for your people, for the sake of your people. So just think about it like that way. So, Frankie, share with me one of the best packages that you've seen offered to folks. Out of all these people, you're like, man, that was a good one right there. Some examples of things that you've seen that have been a benefit to folks through the policies.
Yeah, I mean, there's companies out there that really do have a lot of options for employees. I mean, there's a point where some of it can be overwhelming to an employee. I've seen companies that have just so many options where it's like, wow, this is intimidating. And then you've got companies that maybe there's options where it's and the term is called defined contribution, but you can give an employee a bucket of money and basically say, here's all our things that we can offer. We're going to give you $5,000 to spend. You can spend it all here, or you can trickle it down and you can buy some other things. So, they may buy medical, which might cost them X amount of dollars, but as they they can buy other things that fit into their lifestyle. And there are companies that can do that. I mean, companies like Shopify, they have a really comprehensive benefit package, and the employees can really pick and choose a lot of ancillary benefits, and those can be attractive to a younger workforce too, like an accident policy. I mean, you can buy an accident policy for so cheap, and if you get poison ivy, you can actually get $180 because you got poison ivy. But there's policies out there that cover so much. And you mentioned long-term disability, short-term disability. I mean, those are great to have. People don't think about that. If you get pregnant and you got a short-term disability, you get 60% of your benefit when you go out on disability. Something happens to you, you break a leg, you need to go out, whatever it is, you can take advantage of a short-term disability policy where you don't have to worry about losing the revenue that you would be making, and then also just not having the funds to pay for bills and everything outside of that with the lost income. So there are a lot of ways groups can be pretty crafty, and they can be very inexpensive, but a big benefit to employees.
I love that. I love that bucket mentality. That's a great thing. I mean, if folks listening, if you have an opportunity to even think about that, because I was like, wow, that's great. If you tell me I have so much money, and then they give me a list, and I get to choose, that's a wonderful thing. Obviously, not everybody can do that, and not everybody's probably willing to do that. But if you can, that will be a great show of investment into the people that you're bringing into your company, which is I think is wonderful. So thank you for sharing that with us. If you could tell a leader three things in terms of HR technology that they need to actually do, you know, because I know until I'm thinking about HR technology, until I started to ask you about coming on the show and looking at that type of stuff and what you was doing, I didn't really understand that. All I knew was you go to a job, you sign up for HR, they give you a package, you take it or not, right? But three things leaders should consider in terms of providing these type of values to their employees.
Number one is that not all technology is created equal. So I would say do your homework. I would definitely tell leaders to work with their other stakeholders in the organization. So, HR, of course, but maybe, the CFO, COO, everyone coming together to really find out, like, because not every company is the same, not all the technology is the same. What are the must-haves that they need when it comes to technology? What are the nice to haves? What can't we live without? What could be nice, but maybe we don't really need that today. So evaluating the technology and really taking time to evaluate technology is absolutely number one. Number two is the employee experience. I would say you want at the end of the day, you want the employees to be able to go on here, use the self-service, make sure that it's available on any device, laptop, desktop, smartphone, tablet. We want accessibility. Employees may want to sit at home with their spouse and talk through the plans, and you want to be able to give them the ability to be able to access all this online and go through benefits. These are big choices that they're going to make that are going to impact them for the next 12 months. And so making sure that the employee experience is really matched to what their workforce looks like and the demographics that they have. And then number three is really what we see failure as a top-down approach of using the technology. It needs to be used. If you're not having employees access their information online, if you're not using the data, there's a lot of data that's collected in a system through analytics and help you make more informed decisions. Use the technology to help you make decisions over time, because you can look back on year one and you can look at analytics and you can look at data and you can look at benchmarking tools within a technology and say, these are how our employees respond. How do we use this data year two to make better informed decisions? Polls, surveys. I mean, there's all these things that you can do to create a better informed workforce. So I would say absolutely, for sure, evaluate, make sure you're making the right move with the decision you make on the technology. Definitely looking at the employee experience and the user experience for those employees, and then using the data that's compiled so that you can begin to make better informed decisions for the future.
Yeah, that's wonderful. Three for leaders to consider. Thank you for sharing that. And Frankie, if someone wanted to get a hold of EBM, you for your platform and all the things that you guys offer, how would they do that?
Best way for the company is our website, which is getebm.com, getebm.com. So that's all the information about our companies there. And then, for me personally, always feel free to hit me up. Say you heard me on the podcast on LinkedIn. Happy to connect and build my tribe there as well.
Outstanding. And so I'm going to have that information as part of the video and show notes, and so that everybody can actually get a hold of you. But Frankie, thank you so much for the time you've spent with us, sharing leadership and HR technology. For those leaders listening, and you're wondering, what role do I have? You have a role in everything that happens in your company. If you are a leader and you're staying quiet about some areas that need improvement, then you're failing your company. So you might have to craft it a little better for depending on who you're talking to. But in all instances, the employees need a representative. Sometimes HR doesn't do it. Sometimes the management doesn't do it. But you as a leader, you can help your employees get better benefits, get better positioning in the company through simply representing them and representing them well. So, Frankie, thank you once again for being with me. For all you listening, thank you so much. Are there any parting words you might want to share before we go?
I appreciate it. You asked some really great questions, and I do hope that leaders, you just said it very well, leaders do play an important part. closed mouths don't get fed. So I'd say if you're a leader in an organization and you feel like you're not being paid attention to by someone you report to, it's time to speak up, because those voices all count.
Amen to that. So, folks, thank you for being once again with us this week. And as we like to close this show, success to you.